Hi, it's Rachel at From Moments to Milestones, and I'm here today with our newest card kit, the Sweet Hugs card kit featuring Hero Arts stamps and dies. These are the 4 cards that we will create. If you get a kit, it comes packaged like so. You have all 4 cards kitted inside, and then the instructions. We'll have a picture of each card with written instructions. And then here listed are all the things that I did use to create the kits. So a couple extra things you're going to need. We're going to watercolor some gummy worms. So I use Distress Inks as a watercolor, and these are the colors I use. Distress Inks: Dried Marigold, Spun Sugar, Abandoned Coral. We're also going to use Distress Glitter, Clear Rock Candy. This is kind of old packaging, but works the same. And then also a two-way glue pen. There's different sizes, but these are what I'm going to use. And then also this water brush pen. It's got water in there. I'm going to use that for when I watercolor. So our first card is going to be this Big Squishy Hugs. So we're going to get all of our pieces out. And I think first I am going to get the yellow die cut letters onto this vellum background. All right, so I've got the word hugs done, and then that is just going to sit right here. I didn't pop it up. You certainly could if you want. You just have to make sure you hide your foam behind the solid part of the letters. I'm going to pop up my bear, so I'm going to just glue that straight down. So I'm just going to put glue behind the yellow parts. And just like so, I want to read the big squishy and then the hugs. Straight. Good. All right, so let's build up our bear. You do have this heart that is going to get tucked inside there. I didn't do that just yet. You have 2 pieces of Post-it. This has all these little highlights you can see on the bear. That are those little pieces there. And then here, you'll have his eyes and his nose. Now, I cut them out of the same Dahlia cardstock, but I want them to be darker. So I have mine, all I did was flip them over. So in your kit, they might be wrong side up. So I flipped them over so I can see the top of all the die cuts, and I'm just going to press it into the Versamark pad. And they're going to be, now they're going to be darker. So I'm going to set those aside to dry for a while we put the rest of it together. So there is no easy way to tell where these highlights go. So there's one that's longer than the other. And this one is going to be for his head. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that one because I do know that. I'm just going to put it just like so, just where it looks like it would naturally go. And then you have the smallest one, which is here. And that is going to go right here on his ear. on the left side. And I kind of just matched it up with the line that's cut in for his ear. And then you have another smaller one, and that is going to go there on his nose, the muzzle of his little face, like so. And then you're left with two different sizes. And so we're going to put the larger ones on the left side and the smaller ones on the right side. I'm just going to take those off. We'll start with the larger ones, and they're just going to go right over here on the left side. All right, like so. Now that some of that's going to get cut off, but that's okay. I'm just going to put them on there anyway, and we'll deal with that. And then these two pieces are going to go here and here. All right. So now we have our shiny little bear. And so I'm going to go ahead and tuck in the heart. You can have it tilt whichever way is good to you. It could go left or it could go right. I'm going to put it just like so. Come down a little bit, just like so. I'm actually just going to flip it around, put some glue there. You can lift up the arm as well if you'd rather do that. And that piece is secured. And then we're just going to go in. There are little embossed marks for his eyes and his nose. I'm going to go ahead and put glue on it. I think I'll just use my tweezers. We'll start with the nose. There's that. One eye. And the other. All right, our little bear is finished. He's so cute, but he's not gonna fully fit. Now you can slightly overlap the hugs if you want, because we're gonna pop it up. But I want mine sitting about right there. I'm gonna use my grid as a guide right there. And I'm just gonna pick it up, turn it over. I'm gonna take a pencil and just draw a line. You don't have to do this, but this is so I know where my foam should be. So I am going to put a line of foam right there. And just fill the rest of them up. All right, I'm going to remove the backing from this foam. And now I'm going to put my bear back on there. And you can try to line it back up if you want. I'm sure I can get it pretty close. Centered from left to right. I did great. Press him down. And then you can put it in your trimmer or take your scissors and just trim off the bottom, just like so. And that card is finished. Our next card is I'm very glad we're friends. And our first step for this one is going to be to punch out his eyes and his nose if they're not punched out, and these little highlight pieces. So I'm going to go in and punch all those out real quick. All right, I've got all of that removed. Toss those little pieces. And now, if you can see on my sample here, I have made mine glitter. I put glitter on them so they kind of look sugar coated. So we're going to do that. I did want to show you, I took this gummy bear. I think it was actually, yeah, this color. And I covered it with Versamark ink. And then I heat embossed it so it looks like a shiny gummy bear. So that's an option if you would like to try that. I also think glossy accents would work. You could glue them all down and then add the glossy accents. So I just wanted to show that variation before we start here. But this is where the two-way glue pen comes in. So I am going to, let's see, I'm just going to get out a scrap piece of paper and lay it down. And I have a rather large one. They have this ballpoint size, and then they have this one too, which I think actually I'm going to use this one. Forgot about that one. And I'm going to make sure it's started. So you kind of press on it, and there's glue coming out, and I'm just going to cover the surface. Maybe this one's dried up. We're going to use the big one. I'm just going to go over it like so. And I've got my Clear Rock candy. I'm going to pick it up and just dip it in. Perfect. I will plate. I'm going to set these on for now. So I am going to repeat that process. Oh yeah, now it's really oozing. Okay. I'm going to repeat that process for all the bears. All right, I have all of my little guys covered in glue. I'm going to let the glue dry. And then before I glue them on, I'm probably going to take a dry brush and just brush over the top to get off any excess glitter. All right, so I'm going to take this, got my card base and this panel that we are going to put the bears on. I'm actually going to pop this up. I am going to use, instead of using a bunch of foam, I'm just going to use, I have this scrap card base that I ruined here. So it's 2 layers of cardstock. Glue those together. And then, so if you have lots of scraps, you can use those as foam in place of foam. I like to do that. I get quite a few scraps. It's a good way to use them up. And then I'll raise it up, and it's also nice and flat, so all the same size. All right. This panel down centered on my card base, and just that little lift gives you the shadow. All right. And then I do have this, it's just a little tray we made out of cardstock. Put in a piece of Swiffer, and you can brush it off, and the Swiffer will catch it. And you can get all the stuff off there that you need. Do all of these. And it helps to kind of burnish it in there. You can also use your fingers and press it in if you want, but I'm just gonna use this. Oops. All right, those are good to go. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and glue them down. So I'm going to arrange them first. I'm just going to copy what I have here. One, two, three. The darker one in the center. Missing one. Where did he go? There he is. All right, I'm going to use the grid, my card, to find the center. And that looks good to me. Okay. And I'm going to glue them on. You could use foam if you wanted. I glued mine flat. And then I am going to get out a little block to hold them down flat. All right, those look even to me. Give them all a good press. Make sure they're flat. And I am going to come back with that brush just one more time. Get any excess off. And that card is finished. All right, for our next card, we have this Sending Worm Hugs little shaker panel card. Let's get that out, and we're going to start. Your little worms are stamped on watercolor paper, so we're going to use those Distress inks. These are the three colors again, and I already have mine squished out. This is just a piece of white cardstock inside one of these envelopes that your card kits come in, and I'm just going to use that as my palette. And you have spun sugar, you have the abandoned coral, and dried marigold. So just whatever variation that you want to do it. I have, I'm going to start with this one here, where spun sugar at the top. And then we're going to go into the, clean off a little paper towel here. And then we're going to go into the dried marigold. We'll just mix them together in there. I'm going to go light, and then I can go back in after they dry and add some more color. And let's see, this guy here, there's two that are the same. One of those is going to be then marigold at the top. And then we're going to go into the abandoned coral at the bottom. I got a little messy there. We'll let those dry. And then this one here is going to be pink at the top. And we're going to go into the abandoned coral at the bottom. And this color is a lot more intense than the other two. All right, I think this one is dry. So I'm going to go back in. I'm going to dry out my brush and fill it full of color. And that's usually, this is a very light color, so it's kind of hard to get it darker. I'm going to do that same thing, clean it out, dry it out, and then go in the bottom. Just give a little bit of a highlight on the top. I'm going to do that with this one. And finish with this guy. I might add a little bit of the coral to that pink just to darken it up. Yeah, I think that helped. All right. Good to me. I want this one a little darker. Okay. We'll leave those aside to dry. I'm just going to go ahead and clean this off. Okay. Those can come over here to dry, and we're going to work on the shaker portion of our card. So you have, in your kit, I made mine in class so someone could see how I made it. Let me just show you. Hold on, I'm going to have to get another envelope. Okay, so in your kit, you're going to have this pink cardstock, and you have this little flimsy piece. It's actually the same kind of packaging that your card kits come in. So these envelopes that we poured out of, I cut them down, and that's what I used to put in your kit. So what you're going to do is find some strong double-sided adhesive. I have 1/8 inch here, 1/4 inch would work. And so I'm going to go to the edge and put down my score tape. And I'm going to try to lay it down. I just made that curl a little bit. You want to just kind of lay it down naturally. Okay. And it is a little hard to see. Might be helpful to put it on a dark surface. Okay. And then I'm going to put it on all 4 sides. And I'm overlapping on the corners because I want them to touch. We're making a shaker panel, so we want to seal in this glitter. Okay, so it's going to look like that. If I have black cardstock, that might be helpful. You can see it better. Okay, so it's right up to the edge. Now, one thing I said in class, so when you're looking at the card, all my glitter is going to the very bottom. So what I suggested was to put a strip. Oh, let's see. So I'm gonna go about right here. I want to put it on the same side. I'm gonna come up about 1.5 inches. And that should help seal in your glitter better. Okay. I didn't go down far enough, did I? You might want to measure it. I'm going to go ahead and pull it. It pulls off somewhat easy because it's acetate. So I'll just pull that off and try again. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay it behind there. Use my brain here. And I am going to just go right to the bottom of that. Just like so. Okay. Now, we don't need this piece anymore. You just need this piece here. And you're going to remove, we're going to leave at the top. So the two at the bottom. So I'm going to remove the backing here on both sides. I'm going to do this strip in the middle and this strip at the bottom. Okay. So it looks like this. So you can see the adhesive. I've removed all the backing. And this piece, we're going to flip over and stick down onto the pink centered. So you might want to come down here at the bottom, center it, and press it down. I'm not going to do that because I already did it on this side. But this is what it will look like when it's done. You can see I have adhesive all the way around and down that strip. And now I left that backing. Now I have a pocket. And that's where I'm going to stick that glitter so it'll be behind my circle. Okay. So now I have my little bag of glitter. I am going to kind of mess with it, try to get all the glitter I can to the bottom. And then I am just going to snip off the top of my bag, because if you open it, then all your glitter is going to try to stick to that little sticky tab. Okay, so now we've got our glitter in here. I'm going to open it and pour it into my pocket carefully. Oops. Do it like this. Get as much as I can. That's good. So now all that glitter is trapped in there. I'm going to try to get it away from the top where that is. Run my fingers across. Now I'm going to use my tweezers to get behind there and get that backing off. Okay. And now I'm going to press that down as well. So when you put this down, you want to really press all the way around where that adhesive is to really seal it in so it can't get out. And now you have this fun little shaker panel, and it's flat. So we didn't have to use any foam. And this would go through the mail wonderfully. So now you have this cool, and the static will keep some of it in there. It's a really nice, easy way, and you can use up your packaging. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this panel onto my card base. I'm going to stick that pink shaker panel down onto my card base. Perfect. All right, so now you got this fun little panel, and then we're going to glue. You can use score tape again if you want. I'm going to use wet glue because, you know, it's a slick surface. You could use both if you wanted. I'm just going to go with the wet. You could use foam here if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. Like I said, this is a nice way to mail a shaker card that is not big and heavy. And then we're just going to lay it on top, centered. Just like so. It should hide that clear piece if it, on the bright side, if it's a little close, it's clear. You're not going to be able to tell. Give that a good press all the way around. Now we have our fun little shaker panel. And we're going to finish with our scoop and our gummy worms. So it's up to you if you want to add some bulk. I think I will, just because I can't resist. So I'm going to put a little foam on scoop, but you certainly don't have to. Okay, so let's put that scoop down. And we're just gonna, it's gonna ever so slight, I mean, it's gonna come out of the circle. So we're just gonna put it in there like so. And then we're gonna arrange. So this guy is right in here. This one's in here. Oh, we've got him upside down. So all the heads aren't in the same spot. So it's something like that. I am going to glue those two together because I like the way that is. Or maybe. Let's try that again. All right, upside down. He's hanging like so. Make sure I see the glue on there. There we go. Like that. And then this one, however you want to put them in there. I'm going to do it like that. And I did put foam on just all three heads, but you don't, I mean, you don't have to. So I've got them the way I want them, and now I can glue them on there. I'm going to put something heavy on that to hold them down because it is slick paper. Sometimes it does not like to stick very well. So I'm just cutting 3 little strips for the backs of their heads. I'm going to remove the backing and just tuck it in. So this one right here. And it just makes them look like they're layered, gives some dimension. And that guy actually would probably need, I'm going to get a longer piece and fold it in half since that scoop is, I just folded it in half so it's double, and that'll make them stand up from the scoop. All right. That card is finished. All right, we have one final card, Hugs from Me to You. This one's going to be pretty simple. So let's start. We've got our white card base, and you have these 2 strips of coral, and we're going to glue them just to conserve some paper on the edges. So here and here. And I'll glue one on the right side. Okay. And if you need to, you can stick it off a little bit. All right. And then this panel is going to get glued straight down. Now you can pop it up if you want. Because there's nothing in the center there, I'm going to use another piece of cardstock just right in there, so it's kind of the same layer as those pieces on the side. You can, this is not necessary, it's just so it lays flat, just like so. All right, I'm gonna line it up at the top, that way if I need to trim it, I can trim off the bottom. Just press that down. There we go. It looks pretty good. And now we're just going to build up the word hugs. And some of your color, you'll have the same 4 colors of letters, but they may not be in the same order, as you can see here. And we're going to start with the G. We're going to tuck that right in there like so, and then we'll build out that way. We'll start with the G. I did not pop these up. You certainly could if you wanted to. Just like so. Okay. And then the U. Now, if you wanted to use a ruler, which I think we would want them to line up about there. So I'm just going to, that will help hold it in place so I at least get them straight. H. And the S. Can't tell if there's a right or a wrong. I feel like that's wrong. See if I feel differently. I don't think it really matters. Okay. Now I definitely think that's upside down. That's okay. All right, so we've got our hugs on there, and then we just have this little heart up here. I'm just going to put a dot of glue. Stick it up there. And that card is finished. All right, guys, that does it for this card class. I hope you enjoyed this sweet little set. So fun, colorful, and really you could send to anyone. If you're interested in a kit, you can look us up at frommomentstomilestones.com and search for our card kits. I will leave a link in the description box. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you again soon.